What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Me and Pops Unplugged. We appreciate you guys tuning in once again. Pops, we're going to make this pretty easy today. We're going to jump right into it. The topic that we're going to be talking about is fear, which I know everyone can resonate with. So, we're going to be talking about what that means, what it looks like for each individual, what it looks like for me and you, and really how it affects daily decision making. So, I think it's important to kind of define it for ourselves first. Like, what does fear mean to you?
Well, we talked about it a few minutes ago. What it is, it's an emotion or feeling that brings apprehension, kind of like a warning sign, maybe possible danger, or
Right.
and gives you that feeling of apprehension. Like I said,
Valid. Yeah, I mean, my definition is it's a key indicator on where your growth should be. That's my personal opinion. Because I mean, anything that's scary, like, unless it's absolute imminent danger, like someone's coming at you with a gun or a knife, I mean, that's self-explanatory. But in terms of, personal development and things like that, if it scares you, that's usually a key indicator of where your growth needs to be, or at least the next step you need to take in order to grow in that specific area. And like, I mean, that's a perfect segue for a story, right? I remember what I was around 1920. I used to work down at BBT Center. We used to do, vending, beers, drinks, everybody at the concerts and everything like that. And even before starting that, I was definitely a little bit nervous and a little fearful because I'm like, fuck, like, I never done this before. What if I suck? Just that doubt and confusion that comes with fear of a new opportunity. And, I just dove in head first. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just get after it. And I was actually really good at it too. But, initially starting something new, that's usually where the fear presents itself. And I mean, that's a small little excerpt from, my experience. But, that's just one of the many stories that, I can remember that I'm like, damn, like that was at the time, I felt like a big opportunity for me. And it taught me a lot: sales, entrepreneurship, how to communicate with people. I mean, having your own business essentially within a business. But yeah, it was a lot. You got any stories, Pops, as far as fear?
well, before I get into a story, I was listening to what you said, and like you're talking about the job. And I think that's something everybody goes through, like especially when career aspect. When you go into a new job, like your first day on the job, everybody has that anxiety and that nervousness. And I feel like it really stems from you're the new guy. You don't really know what the job entails. Like they might have described it to you, but you've never actually done it.
Right.
So I feel like when you first go in, you're trying to be welcomed by everybody and be viewed as, oh, this guy's going to work out, he's going to be good or whatever. So initially it's about judgment. You don't want them to be like, oh, this guy's an idiot, he's not going to work out, so it's like you're worried about screwing up, and it's like that fear of judgment and the fear of failure that you get those feelings. It's again, it's an emotion. So you're
Right.
so worried about other people's judgments or opinions and afraid to, feel stupid or look stupid and afraid what they're going to think. So you're trying to be perfect and you have that anxiety and that fear behind you. But as far as a story, the first thing I thought of when you were telling your story is like you kind of know. You talked to, I remember years ago, you and your brother were with grandmom and saw my old basketball coach. And he was like, man, your dad's probably one of the best, like, if not the best player, one of the best players I ever coached, and, all that. And it reminded me that, I had, when I was young, my whole life was sports. I had a chaotic household. And, ever since I can remember, uh, my mom had six brothers, and I was the first, nephew. I was the second grandchild, but the first boy.
Right.
So none of them, they were all younger. My mom was the second oldest, and she had six brothers. So like they were all, teenagers pretty much when I was born. And they were all athletes. So they introduced me to baseball and, sports like as soon like I was 4 years old and they had me on video and
You
stuff,
were
like
out the
crushing,
womb, fucking
yeah, like
yeah,
crushing wiffle balls 40 feet at like 4 years old. So, I was introduced to that at an early age, and that was always like an outlet and a release for me where, no matter what was going on in my house, like especially in the summertime, like that was my escape. I went out, we played baseball, we played football, you know, mostly, I mean, I played every sport, but baseball, basketball, football. So like that was always an outlet for me. And I was, naturally gifted with that. I was, God-given ability where I was always good at those things. And, I started playing organized, besides playing in the street with my friends, start playing organized sports and stuff. And, for the most part, I was always like the best player or like the second best player on every team I, played on pretty much. And as I got older, excuse me, and went into like high school and stuff, my aspirations were, to continue and keep taking it forward. But I remember like I just and it's weird. It's because my dad wasn't around, and we talked about this in prior episodes where for a boy anyway, he needs, male um role models, and I didn't have a healthy male role model in the house to like help me to hone that craft and bring that out of me and instill confidence. So, and even though I had God-given talent and I was better than most kids, I didn't have the self-esteem instilled
right,
in me. So once I got into high school and stuff and started playing, I started to have this fear of, am I as good as people think I am? Or maybe this kid's better. And it was so crazy. It's such a psychological thing because looking back now, like I would be better than the kids that I was doubting myself. Where it allowed all this self doubt to come in the fear part. Like, well, maybe that kid is better, and maybe I'm not as good as they think I. And like all this self doubt and fear started coming in, and because I didn't have the right self esteem and the right, somebody pushing me like a male role model, like instilling that self confidence and self esteem in me, the fear crept in and the self doubt crept in to where, I started quitting all these teams. And it got to the point where like coaches were like, what's wrong with you? Like, you got all this talent, you're throwing it away. And then, you know, I had so much inner turmoil going on that, instead of that and following that and having the self confidence, I lacked the self esteem. So then I quit that and went off into the street stuff and, sought that approval in that area because I was afraid of the unknown. I had that fear of the unknown where, you know, this self doubt where like maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe these other kids are better than me. And it was like I don't know, it's a weird dynamic. But that when you were talking, that initially made me think of that maybe things could have been different if I had the right self esteem and self confidence put inside of me to just like not worry about those feelings and emotions and like learn to accept them. And it's like a normal thing to have self doubt, but if you have the right, guidance behind you, you can overcome them. But I wasn't ready for that. And, again, all this self doubt and lack of self esteem crept up on me and it like paralyzed me. So I wound up quitting and, one of the biggest regrets of my life, honestly.
you know what? I mean, surprisingly, I can actually relate. Like, I never really played like in high school like that. But, like I can sit here and admit, as a grown man, I had a lot of self-esteem issues as a
Mhm.
kid, and especially like adolescent and in teenage years. And honestly, like I was a pretty good athlete too. Shit, I got it from you. And mommy
Mhm.
was an athlete as well.
Yeah,
So as far as genes wise, like being able to pass that down, I was always a good athlete.
yeah,
And I remember like eighth grade football, I think that was my most productive year in terms of like you could actually see it. Like I got a lot better. And then once I hit high school, I wasn't really concerned with that. I was, concerned with fucking being popular and fucking chasing girls and doing the drugs, smoking. Like I wasn't in the streets like that per se, like you were, but
yeah.
I was just on a different scene, partying, just worried about the wrong shit. And I
Mhm.
thought that was important at the time. But I mean, still, like I didn't join another organized sport until senior year. And I think you were actually at one of my last games in baseball. And I think, dude, that game I fucking went off. It was like one of the last games of the season.
Mhm.
And I remember having a conversation with myself. I'm like, bro, if you don't fucking join a sport like senior year, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I was like, at least go out with a bang. Like join the fucking baseball team. I remember when I first started, I was ass. I was like, dude, I'm not getting any playing time. By the end, they were starting me, and what was I playing? I think I was playing right field. And I remember the last game, you actually showed up to that game too. And I fucking balled out. I had like a triple, I had like a double. And then the coach is like, where the fuck's that been all season? But I knew in my heart, like if I, for example, like if I played baseball from freshman to senior, 100% would have at least been scouted. But that self esteem factor, like I can actually relate to that because it just wasn't there. And it's funny too because I feel like I was listening to what you were saying. It's like the expectations we put on ourselves and the expectations of other people kind of infringe on what we have going on, you know, plus all the turmoil that you're dealing with itself. That's just an extra layer of fucking pressure, like other people's expectations, like, hey, you got all this talent, what the fuck are you doing?
Mhm.
And it's just tough to deal with, especially as, a teenager, like going into adulthood as a man and things like that. It's just a lot of shit. But I mean, hey, I went out with a bang. I didn't regret joining the baseball team senior year, but yeah, after that, I was like, damn, dude, like I could have been playing that whole fucking high school career. I could have been fucking better. Like,
Yeah.
so I can definitely resonate and relate to a lot of the shit that you just said too.
And real quick, as to what exactly what you just said, just like I was saying, I didn't have um, a male role model, in the house, the right type of role model to instill that self confidence and self esteem in me. I didn't do that for you because at that point, if you could probably remember, it was like kind of the end of your high school years when I started to develop the addiction thing and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and
you got
you
caught
know
up. I remember it was senior
yeah.
year. Senior year is when woo, everything went to
But
shit, and
but
not just for
even
you, like the entire family. It wasn't
but
just
even
that, but that was an extra layer added on to everything.
But even before that, because me and your mother have been divorced for years, I didn't live in the house with you guys. And even though like you and your brother would come with me on weekends and stuff, that started to get more scarce. And, I didn't do the job that I needed to do as far as instilling that in you and your brother. So, I have to take blame for that and, own that. So partially that's my fault. And like with my situation, your grandfather, like he didn't live with us. Him and my mom got divorced when I was 6. But to be honest with you, like knowing what I know now, I'm not really going to sit here and blame anybody. But it wasn't like he didn't want to. There was external forces and other things at play that kind of kept him out of my life. And without going into the detail, it wasn't just like he was blatantly absent either. And at that time, I was kind of bitter because I had this feeling that he didn't want to be. But
Right.
now I'm older and realize the dynamics that were at play, and like I said, different forces were at work to keep him from being an everyday part of my life. Plus, even if he was more involved, he had moved. I was living in the city, and he was all the way up in like Upper Bucks County, so he was like over an hour away. So geographically, it wasn't ideal
Yeah,
either.
he even if he
But
wanted to, he couldn't be there like that. So, no, I
but
get it.
we talked about it before in the past. You know, we perpetuate different generational traumas, and we
I was
pass
just
that
gonna go
on.
there.
So
Yeah, like
the
the
same.
cycle can, in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, the cycle continues unless you take
Mhm.
extreme action to just be like, you know what, that's done. And
Yeah.
if I'm
So
being honest too, like, a lot of the shit, and this isn't just about you or anything, but like, just looking at the cycles that, a lot of the, males in our family have gone through too. Like, your dad not being there, you being in and out. Like I was, now it's a different, but when I was in my early 20s and mid 20s, like I was terrified to even potentially have kids. Because then I'm sitting there, I'm like, what if I do the same
Are
shit?
you
I'm
going to
like,
do the same shit? Yeah.
right. And I'm like, what if that fucking cycle continues with me? And we talk about fear. Like I had that fear, like, oh my God, I could be doing the same shit potentially to these future kids. Like, and shit, maybe subconsciously that's a part of the reason I don't have them. I mean, kids are a blessing, don't get me wrong, but I'm also thankful I don't have any either because,
No, I
that
get it.
that would just be a lot for me to deal with right now. But
Yeah.
you you know what I'm getting at. It's just
No, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Because as
fear
much as I,
controls our decisions subconsciously every fucking day, whether we realize it or not. And
yeah,
you
well,
know,
as much as I didn't, as much as I didn't want to, repeat the same mistakes. And like I said, not that my dad purposely did that, but, going through what I went through, as much as I didn't want to repeat the same mistakes, I wound up doing it anyway, without even realizing it. And, that's because I wasn't prepared. Like I couldn't even deal with the shit within myself, let alone show up for other people.
yeah,
So, it was hard. But real quick, going back to the whole, sports thing, since we, that's what we were kind of went into with this. It's so weird because, like I said, like now I'm a has been, you probably saw I was put up a video this week of me shooting jumpers and stuff.
yeah, I
And,
see.
I could still, I'm
Well,
better
hey,
than like,
at least you're
yeah,
getting out there. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like hate comes from the bottom. Like you're trying to do something, you're trying to get back to it. Like I'm never gonna hate on that.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
But
like the big fat person who's trying to get in shape. They're in the gym, like, hey, yeah, they're out of shape, but they're doing something
yeah,
about it. Like I would never hate on somebody like that. That's just
no, I know you're not. What I'm trying to
right.
say is, it's something I want to get back to because it's something I always love. But even if in that video, fat and rusty and all that stuff, but at one point in time, like I could ball. Like I was a scorer from, out the womb. So like people just don't know. Like that was my life. And the reason I brought it back up is because, I quit back then because of lack of, self-esteem and confidence and stuff. But the talent was there. And like I said, I think it was a combination of a fear of failure. Like, what if I'm not as good? What if these kids are better? That type of thing. But it's also like fear of success too. And that's a big part of my life and segue into something else. Like almost like, you know, what if I am as good? And it's just a weird thing because, and I say that to segue into carrying on for the next so many years of my life up until recently, like one thing that I've always been good at was self-sabotage. And it's almost like
Yeah.
subconsciously,
Mhm.
I would be like, things are going so great, and, life is getting good and this and that. And it was like, everything's going too good. I'm afraid like something's
You're
going to, the
just
ball's
waiting
going
for
to drop.
something bad to
So,
fucking
it, but
yeah.
even before that, even before the ball drops, hey, I'm not going to wait for the ball to drop. I'm going to just screw it up myself and sabotage everything myself. And I was always good at that. So, I think subconsciously, a lot of times it's like, that fear of success, even like things are going too good, something's bound to happen, like this pessimistic view, rather than be like life is good and it's going to get better. I'm just like, let everything's going too good. Something's bound to happen. So I might as well screw it up before it happens. And I had a 30, 40 year perpetual habit of doing that to myself, and then also the other factor is like a lot of times we get the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen, but that's life. Like nobody knows what's going to happen
You
later
never know
today,
what's gonna happen.
tomorrow. But fear of the unknown, it's just like you don't know how it's going to turn out. So a lot of people are afraid to start something or afraid to go into something because they don't know the outcome. And like, but none of us know the outcome. That's what's great about life is like you never know what can happen. Amazing things can happen, bad things can happen. Like that's what happened. Life shows up. But fear of the unknown is a big one for a lot of people, especially me. Like, I'm just so worried about, you know, judgment, other people's judgment. fear of what people are going to think. But with that one, people are going to talk anyway. You could be Gandhi, and people are
I
going to
say that all the time. You're
and
always
people
going to have
are going
haters. Like if you don't
to
have haters, like you're not doing
you could
something
be
right.
Gandhi and people are going to talk shit on you,
Literally.
so let them talk, do what you got to do and just live your life. But then, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of the unknowns, like these are all factors that shape, everyone's decision making. Like there's probably somebody out there right now that could have been, the equivalent of like Michael Jordan or,
Even better, but
yeah,
just never made it. You never
they,
hear about those people because
because of the fact that
circumstances and
their
shit that
fear
we're talking
stopped them.
about.
They were
Yep.
too afraid of going for it. And, there's somebody out there that could have been, comparable to Michael Jackson, entertainer, anything in life. But, fear stopped them from chasing that dream. Like, what if I don't make it? That fear of the failure, the fear of judgment. Oh, people are going to call me a weirdo because I want to do this and it doesn't resonate with them, or they think it's impossible. So, like, all those things are like huge factors every day of why we do what we do or don't do what we do.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know,
couldn't agree more. And like if I'm being completely transparent, I mean, shit, even before we started this podcast, I'm like, fuck, this scares the shit out of me.
yeah,
And rightfully so. It's like, hey, your face is out on the internet, this and that. People are commenting, whatever it may be, judgment. But then I just got to the point, I'm like, man, fuck all that. Just like you said, people are going to judge and, determine, how they view you in their own mind anyway. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So you might
Well,
as well just go for it and, you know, just go all in. Fuck
like
it.
you
Like,
said, there's always going to be a hater or somebody that judge you. And a lot of times that's not even about you. That's really about them projecting their own bullshit on
yep.
you. And a lot of people will judge like you doing something, whether it's this type of thing that we're doing or something, another person's doing. And a lot of times they'll judge it. But the whole time it's because they might want to do the same thing, but they're afraid themselves to try to chase that or to go out on a limb and do something that you're doing. So they're going to hate on it because, oh, that's corny or he's corny, whatever. But
I mean, we had
again,
conversations about this
that's a
too.
projection. They're projecting their bullshit on
Right. I mean,
you.
if anything, I feel kind of bad for them because it says more about them than it does me. Like
Yeah,
they, like, especially if it's a person like a friend or family or, really good acquaintance, whatever, at least somebody you thought, at least in your mind, they would support you to the utmost. And lo and behold, they don't. And we had conversations about this. It's like, look, either this kind of content resonates with you or it doesn't. But at the
yeah.
same time, like, hey, if we're close, like we actually have a genuine relationship in some capacity, you would expect that support. Like that's a natural
Yeah.
thing,
Well,
to have.
let's be 100% transparent. Me, you, and your brother were all talking last night on a group thing like this, and we talked about this very subject. And it's so crazy
Right.
that the people, let's keep it 100. The people that are supposed to support you, mainly family and friends, like people that are actually in your circle that are like, yeah, yeah, I'm rooting for you. They will sit there and tell you, like, yeah, I'm with you, I support, and not support you. It's just so crazy to me. And
Well, I say this to
most of
myself.
most of your support comes from strangers. Like the people that support me most, other than, a select few of family and friends, are people that I've never even met before. Literally, that I know on social media. Like I don't even know them in person. Never met them in person, but yet they
Yeah, and we
support
talked
me.
about this. You know why? Because they don't have a predetermined image of you in their mind. They're just seeing the content in general and they see us on here and they're like, yo, bro, you're doing it. Like, good job. Keep going. Blah, blah, blah. Like, we support you. There's no predetermined image of who these other people think you are
Mm.
in their mind. So when you're not living up to it or, the image is threatened based on how they see you, of course the support's not going to be there because now that image is being threatened of how they see you. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a perfect way to describe it.
Plus another thing is too that, especially like for me, coming from where I come from, like being involved in all the wrong things, going in and out of
Yeah.
jail, the addiction, all that stuff. Like they tell you oh, you need to get your shit together, you need to get your life together, and they act like that's all they want for you. And then, when you turn around and you become a different person, now it's like they say they want a better version of you, but then when you become that better version, that version no longer serves them and what they can get from you and get out of it. So now it's like they say they wanted that, but now do they really want that? Because now it's like, oh, well, he's a different person. I don't know him anymore. Even though you've become a better person, you no longer are beneficial to them. And it sounds crazy, but it's a psychological thing. It's like some people, especially when they're like on you, especially like immediate family and stuff.
Mm.
Like, oh, you need to get it together. It's like they might be complaining about how you're living, but it's almost like they enjoy having that with you, that
Right.
dynamic where they're like, the one trying to motivate you, but then when you actually surpass and become what they've been telling you to become, now it's like,
Yeah, I mean that's the
it
majority of
doesn't
people.
serve them anymore
They're gonna root you. They're gonna root you on and
until
support
you
you
get
until you're
past
doing
them.
better than them.
Yeah, exactly. Now they got to hate. So they wanted
Now,
this the
now
whole
you're a
time.
threat, and
Yeah,
they have to look inwards and be like, damn, well, if he just went through all this shit, he's now questionably surpassing me. Well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get to that level? And now, it's all based on ego at that point. But
hmm
when you're not operating on ego, you keep your faith first. You're doing the right shit.
hmm
You're not even coming from that. You're coming from a place of self love and betterment and self improvement. That's where majority of people should come from. But they just got their priorities fucked up. And again, there's always going to be haters. We're not even going to dwell on that. But I mean,
yeah,
fear's a big thing too, man. It's a fucking bitch.
yeah. I mean, like I said, it help. It kind of dictates a lot of decisions we make, like how many decisions that would have benefited us, whether it be a job, a relationship, just going out on a limb, something would better you, but you never did it because of that fear factor, fear of the unknown or fear of the judgment, fear of success, fear of failure. It's such a huge thing that people don't even realize it. Like it dominates our lives, not just you and me, but everybody every day, you know. Now, also too, there's a positive side of it. Um, sometimes again, it's kind of a warning sign. Like, if you go out and, say somebody's shooting, obviously your fear is right. Like, hey, I got to get up to protect myself. So it's a protection thing too. I mean, it can be a positive, or, you might get in a situation where you just have that instinct, like this don't feel right. And it's, kind of that fear is raised, which is a protection thing too. So it can be a positive, but I just feel like it's much more of a negative normally than it is a positive.
Of course, it's always associated with something more negative. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, even with this podcast, like even before we were in the works and before we even came out with any content, like it was scary. And I was definitely nervous. I'm like, fuck, like I've never really been on camera like that. Like, how am I going to swing this? How am I going to do this? And there were so many questions, but I'm like, you just got to jump in, man. That's it. And we're doing this for a positive reason. We're giving back. We just partnered with RDS. Like, this is all positive shit.
Yeah.
And you know, as long as we keep the mission first, we're good, man. And that's all I care about. I just want to help people.
Well, like you were saying, when we first start talking about this, kind of stepping out on a limb, I've always been outgoing. You know that. You kind of are
Same.
like me. Like I'm not a shy person. Like I'm kind of
No,
reserved.
not at all.
I've changed my life where I used to be, obviously a lot more wild and stuff, but like now on an everyday basis, people will say like, "Oh, he's quiet." Like I'm really not quiet. It's just now I more or less protect myself from outside forces. I don't let people get close to me and in my circle, and so I could trust them. But my point was I've always been outgoing. Like the shy part was never an issue for me. I think when we first started, the main thing for me, and it's one of those kind of bullet points that I made first, is like the fear of judgment, the fear of what people are going to think, and oh, they don't, their topics are corny, they're the way they do it's corny, like just worrying more about the fear of what their thoughts are going to be and judging me. But again, like we said earlier, like
Who cares?
yeah, they're going to talk anyway. You could be Gandhi. and they're going to throw shade on you. They're going to talk about you and find a negative. So let them talk. And I got to the point where, at the end of the day, care less what people's opinions are. Like we all want to be liked by everybody. That's a human thing. Like everybody wants to be liked and accepted by everyone, but you're just not going to
Yeah, but
be
not
if you don't
everybody's
have
gonna
the
fuck with
right.
you like that. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
simple.
And
And
that's
and
okay.
you
At
should
the
want
end,
that because you don't want to have select people in your circle anyway. Like that's a blessing in disguise.
yeah, at the end of the day, what it comes down to for me, I'm at a place in my life where I value the opinions of the people that really matter in my life.
Yeah,
My partner, you guys, my children, the rest of my family that, it really matters. And, God. And then ultimately my own opinion of myself. Like
yeah.
as far as everybody
That's
else,
probably the
like
biggest one.
yeah, if they like embrace, because I talk about, we talk about stuff on here. I talk about recovery, on my own social media. I'm always putting out different videos and stuff like that. Like I kind of live out loud and I live my truth. And people might like that, they might not like it. But if it resonates with people and they kind of rock with me and appreciate things I say and share and stuff like that, great. But for the ones that don't, oh well. Like to me, again, that's a them issue, not a me issue. I'm gonna live my
Oh,
truth.
100%.
I'm gonna
I've had
live my
people tell
truth.
me like I've made friends with so many different type of people. I mean, right off the bat, I've had friends that are like, dude, Jay, I rock with you like the minute we met, man. Like, hey, day one's right here. And then I had people being like, yo, Jay, I thought you were a fucking asshole when I first met you. Like straight up. But then we end up being good friends afterwards. Like it's such a wide array and wider like range of
Yeah,
different people that I met. But yeah, I mean, once you really get to know me as a person, my heart's always in the right place, especially when it
same
comes
here.
to, friendships, family, everything. So
Yeah,
that's
same
what
here.
matters the most.
And real quick, like you were saying, like we were saying people are gonna judge you regardless. But my whole thing is this, like unless somebody really knows me and knows the circumstances and things I've been, through my life, like if you want to judge me, you got to know my real story and like take a walk in my shoes first to truly judge me. Like I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I get in debates all the time about political views and world views and religious views, as you know. And like we're not always going to agree on certain things, but one thing about myself that I try to always lead with is I'm authentic. Like I'm going to live my truth. I'm going to, live out loud, talk about the things that resonate with me and that are important to me. And if people, embrace that and like that, great. That's my mission and my goal is to, kind of live out loud, help other people and kind of keep people away from the pitfalls that I went through in my life. And people who hate on that and don't it doesn't resonate with them, oh well, like I don't know, like I said,
They're low energy anyway. Because if you're
yeah,
trying
it's
to
not
better
really
yourself and
cool to
help
me.
other people, how are you even going to hate on that? Like that tells you
Yeah,
everything you need to know.
yeah, and like I said, it's like their opinion isn't really, like they say, everybody opinions are like, asshole. Everybody has
Yeah,
one.
everybody's got one.
Yeah, so it's like, if your opinion is I'm corny or I'm this or I'm that, that's a you issue. Like I'm not going to lose sleep over that. And for the people that, really rock with me and, the things that I share and the way that I live and my authenticity, if they fuck with that part of my friends, great. That's my mission. But for the ones that don't, you know, again, you gotta if you want to judge me like that, you gotta take a walk in my shoes and actually know what I've been through and my circumstances and what I've had to endure to really understand it. If you're basing it off of surface level stuff, um, that's a you issue. It's not a me issue.
Couldn't agree more. Well said.
Yeah.
And I mean, what other stories do you feel like could
I
be
mean,
valuable?
I'll give you how fear dictates every day. Perfect example. As far as my job, work in a warehouse. I'm a Teamster member. work in a warehouse for the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And right now, I've only been there a little over a year and a half, going on 2 years. And I'm an order picker. We get it might be an order for one of the wine and spirit stores, say. So I get the order on my handheld, and it tells me the locations to get to.
Right.
I
Boom. Just
I
go
have a
grab it,
pallet.
pick
Yeah,
it.
I have a pallet, that goes on the back of. We drive center riders where the pallet's behind you as
Hmm.
you're driving.
Yeah, I
So
see
I'm
that.
driving on that. I go to each location. I put the case of liquor on there, and I build a whole pallet. By the end, it's almost as tall as me. So anyway, I do that every day. But guys, as you gain more seniority, now you might go on to where you're loading the trucks or you're staging the pallets to go onto the trucks, and then you have the high reach machines because our shelves go all the way up like 40, 50 feet in the air. So, but again, you have to be a senior member to start doing that specific job. Anyway, I've trained on the different machines. All of them are no problem, but I started training on the high reach. Now I've driven different machines. I've loaded trucks, electronic pallet jacks and all that. Never been a problem. And for the most part, the high reach isn't a problem. But because it's like I'm taking this pallet, even though I'm not lifting it myself, the machine is, I'm operating it. And now I'm going overhead. I got a pallet in the air, 40,
Yeah,
50
you
feet
gotta you
in the
gotta
air.
judge it correctly because if you go in the wrong
Yeah.
way, God forbid the fucking pallet
Yeah.
falls. It's a mess. They're looking at you like, damn,
So
you just messed up.
So any so anyway, my point is this, that I'm training that day, and it was like I've been through so many things in my life, like in the streets, jail, all these other things where like I don't really get scared like that. But it was like I found myself like having this like overwhelming fear that day. Like, what if I drop
Right.
this and I'm trying to be perfect? And it's just that's my point. That just something just like that, just doing your job
Yeah.
because and then the guy training me again, I'm worried about his judgment. Oh, what's he going to think if I'm not really that good at it? What if I drop this? A whole pallet of, we're talking about cases of liquor that each case is 100, $200, and you got 50, 60 cases on there. You're talking about a pallet that's, thousands of dollars. And so now it's like this anxiety and this fear is like hitting me. Like, what if I drop this? Or what if he's like laughing to himself, like this guy, I don't know what the hell he's doing. It's like that fear of judgment, this whole thing because of the fear of doing something new. So that's just an example of, how just everyday life fear could hit you because it's like even though I've been there, it's my first day doing that. So it's like being a new guy on the job again, this whole fear and
Right.
anxiety. You're
Now it's like
trying
you
to
got
be
to put in your
perfect.
time.
Yeah. So, I mean, just something as simple as that, you know, fear dominates all of us like daily. You know what I mean? How about
I mean,
you?
I wouldn't say dominates, but it definitely intrudes on regular thoughts. I mean, it will
Well,
dominate if you allow it, but
it
that's
plays a
like
part.
you
It plays a
entertaining
huge
every other
part, I
thought.
should have said.
Right. I mean, I knew what you meant. I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify a little bit because
No,
it'll
no,
only dominate if you let it. I mean, just like
yeah,
any other thought you could
yeah,
possibly
that's
have.
true. I get it. But yeah, I mean, even, simple things like that, just doing your job and, I'm at work doing the right thing, working, you know what I mean? Not living, a crazy lifestyle. I'm living like a
Right.
normal person. And yet, I'm dealing with fear because of something, fear of the unknown, never did it before, fear of judgment, all those type of things. Yeah. So again, I feel like every day that's kind of a battle, like different in different areas, um, that we deal with. And then take it a step further, like because it does, it is a part of, all areas of life when you deal with relationships. Like say, for instance, not speaking on my own, just kind of painting a picture, for a person if they've been in, dysfunctional relationships or abusive, whether physical, mental, emotional, they had bad experiences, like that fear of putting yourself. So now you meet somebody new and like, they might seem great and they might really be great, but that fear of ending up in that same situation and past
100%.
experiences might dictate it. Where, like, just think about that. Like, how many people that really should have been ended up together didn't because of past traumas and past experiences where they were so fearful of ending up in the same predicament that they were just like, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
not going
And
to
then
do
you
this.
carry the old baggage into the next relationship and the next
Yeah,
relationship. I mean, we talked about
and
that
that
too.
and that's
Hurt people hurt people.
that's fear of the unknown. I
Yep.
don't know how this is going to turn out. So rather than it turn out bad, I just won't deal with it, which is crazy because, like, it could go bad. It's 50-50. It could go bad. It could go good. But if you just say, I'm not going to do it, well, it's definitely not going to
You're
turn
never
out.
going to
You have
know.
no chance. Yeah, you have no chance of it turning out good.
And look,
So
I
yeah, I
mean, take
mean,
it from someone, that's been in a fair share of relationships. And, some of those relationships, I was the toxic one and didn't even
yeah,
fucking realize it.
absolutely.
Now, more recently, it's been on the other side. And I'm glad because it puts me in a position where I can actually have some discernment and be like, you know what? I see my own growth in a lot of these situations too. But, it's just gotten to the point I'm like, hey, man, do you focus on the right shit?
Hmm.
That right one will come. I'm not even
Yeah,
worried about it now. What's
yeah,
important to me is
absolutely.
God, getting my bread up, staying focused on the right shit, creating this content with you, bro, and really just helping people. And if you put your purpose first, everything else falls in line.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I agree 100%. But I mean, what I will say is, for we all deal with, that that emotion every day. And I'm just at the point now where I'm just like, well, I've been at it, but I'm just tired of, not going after certain things or certain things I want to do. We have some plans in the works, and a lot of them are plans that I've had for years, but it was like too afraid to pull the trigger,
Yeah.
too
It's like,
afraid to,
dude, fuck it. Like, let's
put
just do it.
myself out there. And I'm just tired of, living like that. I don't want to be sitting here 5, 10 years from now and thinking like, oh, well, if I only had took that chance and stuff like that. Like, I'm just tired of being fearful that it won't work out. I mean, it's never going to work out if I don't go for it. So why be fearful of it? Just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, at least I could look back and be like, all right, well, I tried. I gave it a chance.
Yeah,
But
100%. And I think that's a great segue to jump into courage. And this is so underrated too. It's like when you have courage as an individual, it's not like that fear is still there. And I
yeah,
think this is where a lot of people get twisted. You're still scared like a motherfucker, but you're like, you know what? I'm still fucking do it anyway.
it's not the lack of fear. The fear is still present. It's just the fact that even though it's still present, you still not knowing the outcome and not knowing how it's going to end up, you still
Move forward.
went forward and attempted to, whatever the situation is. I'm sure that's kind of what soldiers go through if they're in, battle. Like, hey, I could die right now, but you know what? I have a mission, I have a job to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do, not knowing how it's going to end up. That's the true definition of courage. Is like that shit is always present, but you overcome it and you keep moving forward. And you know, to be 100% transparent, like I was saying earlier, that was something I didn't have when I was young. And even up until a few years ago, like I would get scared of a situation, and whether it be, fear of the unknown, fear of failure, success, judgment, whatever, I'd get that fear. It would just lock me up. And I'm going to turn around and, like, run the other way, like not deal with it. And that was kind of a tactic for years because, again, I didn't have the right self confidence, self esteem, to face those things head on rather than once it got tough, I'm going to turn around and go the other way. And I think a lot of people go through that. Some people go through that their whole lives and never change. So, yeah, it's definitely a good
There's
thing.
an old acronym too. It says fear, forget everything and run,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
right?
saying.
Or forget everything and rise. I
It,
mean,
it,
yeah, it
it
sounds a
comes
little
down to
corny, but
perspective.
it's the truth too. I mean, there's two
Yeah,
possible options. It's either
it's
you're going to run
perspective. It's
away,
how you approach it and look at it.
100%.
Yeah, I definitely agree. What I will say to people is, like, don't stop selling yourself short. You're never gonna know if it'll work out unless you take the chance. It's easy to just give up and not try or not ever, take the initiative to see how it works out. But what if it does? What if that thing you want, that dream you have, actually does work out? You'll never know unless you actually do it and,
Exactly.
overcome that fear.
No, that's great. And what I'll leave with the people too is, I'd rather be the person that, if I'm blessed enough to live till 70, 80, 90, whatever it is, I'm sitting there on my deathbed, I envision all my family around me. I'm ready to go. And I look back on my life and I'm like, you know what? I tried this, I tried that. And you know what? Whether it worked out or not, I can just sit there and be like, you know what? I fucking tried it. And not only did
Yeah.
I try, I didn't half-ass it, but I went all in with it. And despite the outcome, no regrets in that department.
Well, that's what I was just
That's
going to
just
say.
my
That
personal.
that's what you describe. Being
Right.
able to get to that point where you're like, you know what? I don't have any regrets. Like certain things happened that I didn't want to happen. Life happened. I had bad
Yeah.
situations, good situations, but I don't have regrets where things I wanted to go for, I went after. And again, I feel like we all go through that. We all give up before we actually get started, give up, dreams and don't take chances that we should. But it gets to a point, at least for me anywhere, where I'm tired of doing that. And that's kind of how the things that we have in the works, me, you and your brother, when we initially started talking about it, not to give anything away, but I told you guys, like, I've been wanting to do this and I just keep putting it off and putting it off. And it's like,
Oh, it's coming.
what are
It's
we going to
coming real
do?
soon.
Yeah, what am I going to do? Put it off forever? And then I'm sitting here 20 years from now, like you said, I'm ready to die. And I'm like, I wish I would have done. Now it's too late. So I don't have a chance to do that. So yeah, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of living that way and, you know, what ifs and, you know, wondering if things would have worked out. I'm trying to go
I
for it.
mean, look, you say it all the time. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Like it's still going to
Yeah.
be the same shit daily. Like
Yeah.
unless you actually take that leap of faith, and they call it a leap of faith because that's exactly what it is. Faith is belief. Belief is
Mhm.
faith. It's the same thing. Belief in yourself. Belief like, holy shit, this can actually happen.
Yeah.
Unless you take that chance, you just aren't going to know.
Yeah.
It's,
It's funny too, because I was talking to your uncle, my brother, Mark,
Mhm.
yesterday after our union meeting. And I kind of brought him. He was like, "Hey, you guys doing an episode this week?" And I think I told you this last night that I was like, "Yeah," and I kind of told him the topic. I said, "Yeah, I think we're going to talk about fear." And he said this statement, or I don't know what you call it, but I had never heard it before. And he said, "Yeah, you ever hear the saying, fear knocked on the door, but faith answered, and nobody was there." And I was
Exactly.
like,
Because that's
"Wow,
how
that's
you
pretty
combat it.
deep." Yeah. So, and I had never heard that before. And I told him, I said, I might have to steal that from you. So obviously, Mark, I stole that from you.
Yeah.
But
Shout out
yeah, I
Uncle
like that.
Mark.
Yeah, I really like that. It makes a lot of sense, because fear's always going to come knocking. And if you don't have the faith and, the determination to answer, it's going to keep knocking on the door. But you got to face it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was good. When he said that, I was like, wow, I like that. So yeah, credit to you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, y'all, I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 8. It's crazy to actually say that we're 8 episodes in, but we appreciate the ongoing support as always. Like we mentioned, we got some big stuff in the works moving forward too. Not giving anything away. We're going to keep that a surprise right now. And
Mhm.
other than that, keep rocking with us. We'll let you know when those official moves actually in place. But hey, we appreciate y'all. Pops, love you, man.
Love you too, kid. All right.